I had a client a while back. Let's call him Steve. Steve's a dad, 2 kids, successful bloke, runs a team at work, mortgage, the whole thing. He messages me one day, proper embarrassed, says he's bought a pull-up bar, set of rings, and some sandbags 6 months ago. All the kit that I typically recommend for a home gym. Every single bit of it was still in the boxes in his garage. 6 months. He'd been paying for a gym membership he hadn't used since February as well. Just watching the direct debit go out every month. Couldn't even bring himself to cancel it because cancelling it meant admitting that he'd failed. And the thing is, Steve's not lazy. Gets up early, works hard, he shows up for his family, but when it came to training, he couldn't get out of his own way. And he felt like a complete fucking loser about it. Steve's problem wasn't Steve. His plan was just shit. He told himself, right, I'm going to train 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, 45 minutes minimum, proper training sessions. And his brain looked at that and was like, nah, mate, that's a threat. So he did nothing for 6 months because the gap between where he was and where he told himself he needed to be was so massive, his nervous system just shut it down. He didn't even entertain the idea. So this is not a Steve problem. This is basically every dad I've ever coached. And I'm including myself in that. I've got 2 kids under 5. So I know exactly what it's like to be knackered, to feel like you can't train because you're so tired, and then feel guilty about being too knackered to train. So let me tell you a fable. The fable of the bear and the rabbit. Both of them want to get healthier. The bear says, right, I'm going to walk 30 minutes every single day for the rest of my life. The rabbit says, I'm going to walk 10 minutes a day, 5 days in a row. Who wins? What's your gut instinct? You'd probably say the bear. Permanent commitment, more volume, 30 minutes versus 10, looks better on paper. But here's what actually happens. Day 1, both the bear and the rabbit show up. Day 2, both show up. Day 3, it rains. The bear thinks, wow, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, so what's one day? Day 4, it's snowing. The bear thinks, fuck's sake, I bit off more than I can chew. Skip today, we'll get around to it again tomorrow. Now he's got a 50% failure rate and an indefinite amount of time left. The rest of his fucking life. The rabbit, day 3, it rains. He thinks, I've only got 5 days to do, so if I can just get through this one, I'll be all right. So he walks in the rain. Day 4, it snows. You think, wow, I walked in the rain. Why can't I walk in the snow? And then when he finishes those 5 days, something has shifted. Chemical reaction. Dopamine hits. The brain registers task completed. The loop is closed. Next week he thinks, I can do 5 days, I'll do 5 again. Maybe I'll do 6. That's what we call a micro win. One flows into the next. They build on each other. They compound. The rabbit wins every single time. And this is why every January, millions of dads, genuinely determined, properly meaning it this time, are done by February. That's when you see the adverts. Treadmill for sale, exercise bag for sale, cross trainer barely used, collection only. And then these blokes blame themselves. Oh, I lack discipline. I wasn't consistent enough. I didn't want it bad enough. The fitness industry loves all of this shit because their entire model runs on you believing that you are the problem. You didn't grind hard enough. You're not motivated enough. Buy this program, buy this supplement, try harder, do more. Meanwhile, you're running on 5 hours of broken sleep. And a toddler who's decided 4 a.m. is breakfast time. But yeah, just try harder, mate. You'll be fine. Bollocks. The plan failed. Not you. The reason almost no weight loss attempts produce lasting results has got nothing to do with food choices, nothing to do with willpower, nothing to do with motivation. It's not everything to do with the fact that every weight loss program completely ignores your brain, the thing up here. The brain has to change before the body changes. That's not a metaphor, that's a biological fact. And nobody really talks about it, especially to dads. So let me give you my version, something that I've done over the last 16 years with clients. When I first started training properly, I couldn't do a single pull-up. Not one. I just assumed I could. You do push-ups in PE, right? You do them in school, so obviously you can do a pull-up, right? Wrong. I couldn't do one. Really hurt my ego. Felt emasculated, if I'm being completely blunt and honest with you. Now, my first thought was, all right, maybe pull-ups aren't for me. It's just something that, I'm not built for. I'll do something else. And that's the default response when you can't do something. You tell yourself a story about who you are, and then you live inside that. Dads do this constantly, right? I'm not a gym guy. I used to be fit, but that was before kids. My best years are behind me. Bollocks to all that. You've got to say bollocks to it. Now, a mate of mine, Paul, strength and conditioning coach, broke the pull-up down for me. He didn't even start with a full pull-up. We started with like half of one. Like you stand on a stool, so your chin's over the bar, you step off, you lower yourself down nice and slowly. Call it a negative pull-up, eccentric pull-up, whatever you want to name it. When I realized that I could do half a pull-up or I could do a negative pull-up, I put a bar in my hallway at home. Every time I walked past it, I tried to do one. Couldn't. So I said, right, one pull-up in the entire day. That's it, just one. I wasn't thinking about like the ceiling of being able to do 10 pull-ups or 12 pull-ups or 15 pull-ups or 20 pull-ups or anything like that. I was just thinking about the floor. Can I do one a day? That's it. And this is the bit that matters. The micro win has to be ridiculously small. One pull-up sounds silly, almost pointless, right? But your brain doesn't register it as a threat. A 30-minute workout when you're completely unfit and haven't trained for years, that feels overwhelming. And your nervous system sees it and goes, absolutely not. Never mind when one of the kids is crying, you've got a work deadline and you're running on 4 hours. But one pull-up, the brain says, okay, fine, whatever. Like I can manage that, right? And once you can do one pull-up a day, that becomes the habit. The next natural progression is 2. But you cannot skip the foundation. You have to start embarrassingly small, or seems embarrassingly small. Now, 30-day challenges. I actually run challenges for some of my clients, but I call them kickstarts or launch pads because I'm not promising an outcome at the end. You cannot get a tangible outcome in 30 days. The maths doesn't really work, especially for dads. Life doesn't pause because you're on a challenge, right? Kids still get sick, work still kicks off, sleep gets wrecked. So what the fitness industry does is say, 6-minute abs, flat stomach in 30 days, 21 days to a new you, 10 pounds of muscle in 8 weeks. Made up. And so you're set up to fail because you can't establish a habit that quickly. Habits take on average 66 days to become wired into a new habit. And that's on average. For some people, it might be slightly less. For some people, it could be 6 months, it could be a year. And it gets worse. When the plan is temporary and you make it harder, i.e. more restriction, more intensity, the harder and the shorter the challenge, the worse the end result because you feel like a failure. Like, I can't make this stick. And then you just stop trying altogether. So the 30-day challenge is designed to create the feeling of transformation, not the transformation itself. It's a taste, right? And that's fine if you're honest about it, but most people aren't. So here's how your brain actually works with all of this. 2 operating systems. Conscious mind, so goals, plans, intentions. That's where you decide you're gonna get in shape, right? Conscious. Subconscious mind, habits. So runs roughly 40 to 50% of your daily behavior on autopilot. You're not consciously choosing, you're just executing, right? Like brushing your teeth. A habit is just a neutral pathway that's been reinforced enough times to just fire automatically, right? The point where a behavior requires almost no mental energy because the brain has hardwired it as default. Now, the brain changes slowly, by design. If your brain rewired itself overnight based on your experience, you'd be completely unstable as a person. The slowness of the brain is what gives you your personality, your consistency, your identity. The problem is most weight loss strategies ask the brain to change fast and dramatically. So it triggers a resistance response. It fights back. The solution is micro wins. They are gradual. The brain barely registers them as a change. And that's the trick. It doesn't shock your system. So the key principle, behavior change that feels invisible to the brain, is behavior change that actually sticks. So here's where most dads fuck it up. They wait for motivation. They wake up one morning feeling amazing, smash a workout, feel like a fucking champion. But the previous 13 days they did fuck all, right? And so like motivation is a casino win. You can't rely on it. You can't build a system on motivation. So instead of motivation, instead of chasing motivation, you need to lower the ceiling. Think about the floor. Ask yourself what I can do on my worst day, when it's raining, when it's cold, when I'm absolutely knackered, when both kids have been up all night, when you've got a 7 a.m. meeting. You know, we're not thinking I'm going to run a marathon. We're taking it down to the smallest possible step that you can take in the beginning. So if you've ever known anyone with agoraphobia, you'll know the therapist doesn't say, just get out there and go and socialize. They say, can you put your shoes on? If you can do that, can you go to the front door? If you can do that, can you go to the garden? And they slowly build from there, step by step. Because if they bite off more than they can chew, they'll have a negative experience and reinforce the story. I'm not a social person. I'm trapped. I can't do X. I can't do Y. It's the same principle that applies to training. You don't say, I'm going to do a 30-minute workout 5 days a week, because your nervous system will react in a way that you don't want it to, and it just won't want to do it again. So here's how you negotiate your subconscious. 4 steps, even on the days that you're running on fumes. Step 1, commit only to the smallest possible start. I'm not going to work out, I'm just going to put on my training shoes. Step 2, once that's done, ask for the next smallest step. I'm already dressed, I might as well step into the garage or the gym, wherever it is that you're going to train. Step 3, keep the ask even tinier. I'm in the gym, I'm in the garage, I'm in my garden, whatever. I might as well do 1 set. Step 4, at each point, the resistance is lower than before. You end up doing the full session. A few squats, a few lunges, a few push-ups, maybe some pull-ups if you can. Maybe you grab the rings for 5 minutes. Next thing you know, the baby monitor hasn't gone off and you're 20 minutes into a session. Now, the critical rule here is the next steps does not have to happen, and that's fine. You still win because the minimum was met. Shoes on, done. You showed up. Right? Starting is the hardest part. Resistance drops once you're already in motion. That's basic biology. So now the compounding penny. Option A, this is a quick riddle, okay? Option A, 1,000 quid a day for 30 days. That's 30 grand. Option B, 1 penny a day doubled every single day for 30 days. Most people take the money up front. But option B, day 10 you've got a fiver. Day 15, 163 quid. Day 20, over 5 grand. Day 30, over 5 million. 5 million versus 30 grand. And that's compounding. Tiny increments producing results that are genuinely invisible in the early stages. And then all of a sudden, boom, dramatic. And this is exactly how micro wins work. Week 1 of drinking 1 extra glass of water a day looks like nothing. Month 6 looks like the person who stays hydrated naturally. Great complexion, loads of energy, without even thinking about it. Week 1 of adding 1 vegetable to your plate looks trivial, pointless. Month 4 looks like somebody who eats healthy. The behaviors just become the default, and now your kids are watching their dad eat vegetables without being told, right? They're watching you do it. Neurologically, each repetition slightly strengthens the pathway, and that strengthening compounds. Each rep makes the next rep easier. After enough repetitions, the pathway just fires automatically. The behavior becomes the default, not a decision that you have to make every day. So micro wins are backloaded. The first 4 to 6 weeks, they kind of look unimpressive, right? The payoff comes later. And most people quit before compounding kicks in because they're measuring the wrong metric. They're measuring the weight on the scales instead of measuring consistency. So the trend is the truth is an expression I like. You never panic at a single data point. You want to look at like a 2 to 6 week arc as the signal, right? Anything that's daily is kind of a fluctuation. So you want to try and follow what we call chain theory. So never break the chain. It can bend, but it can't break. So person A commits to walking 5K every day. Person B commits to putting on their walking shoes every day, and that's the micro win. For 3 weeks, things will go well for both. Then something happens. Family crisis, illness, work schedule, kids get sick, whatever, right? Life somehow kicks you in the teeth, punches you while you're down. Person A misses a day, then 2, then a week, and now the habit's gone because the standard was too high, and any interruption feels like a complete failure. Person B puts on their shoes even on their worst days, just the shoes. Sometimes they take a walk to the door and come back, sometimes 10 minutes, but the chain never gets broken, okay? And so every day that you perform a micro win, you add a link to the chain. And the goal is to never break the chain, and a small micro win never breaks. Even on your absolute worst day, even where both kids have been up since 3 a.m. and you've got nothing left, all or nothing standard creates an all or nothing outcome. And we both know it's never all. It's usually nothing. Think about the last healthy habit that you built and then lost. The last one. When exactly did the chain break? Was it one hard day that felt like a total failure? One thing happens, the baby gets an ear infection, you let it slide, you tell yourself you'll get back to it tomorrow. You know the story. And then you don't, right? And this is where the identity shift comes in. This is the level most people never reach. Below that level, you are somebody who's trying to eat well, trying to exercise, trying to drink water. Every healthy action requires conscious decision. Every temptation requires active resistance. And honestly, that's fucking exhausting. You can't grind your way through life forever, especially with the mental load of being a dad on top of it and the responsibilities that come with that. Above that level, below the identity shift, you are someone who is healthy. The actions are no longer decisions. They are expressions of who you are. You train because that's what you do. It's not a question, it's not a negotiation. And here's what changes you. You stop being the dad who's too tired to play with his kids. You become the dad they see in the garage putting in the work. You become the example. And this is what separates the people who maintain from the people who regain. What matters is repetition. The dad who does 5 minutes of movement every single day is far more likely to develop an exercise identity than the one who does 90 minutes intense sessions 3 times a week and then stops after a month. It's always consistency over intensity. Every time, always. And look, there's actual data on this. The National Weight Control Registry in the United States tracks thousands of people who've successfully lost weight and kept it off for years. These people are a rare group. They've beaten the odds. Researchers analyzed what distinguished the maintainers from the regainers. And the answer? Not the type of diet, not how much they exercise, not willpower or motivation or any of that bullshit. The single strongest predictor of lasting weight loss was dietary consistency across the week. People who ate similarly during weekdays and weekends, not the same, but similar, were 1.5 times more likely to maintain their weight loss over the following year compared to people who were really strict on weekdays and then completely relaxed at the weekends. So stricter isn't necessarily better. Consistency is better. These people didn't eat perfectly. They ate what we call reliably. And reliability is the signature of a real habit. Not forced behavior change, not a 30-day challenge, not grinding through your kid's childhood whilst, you obsess over. That's what a micro win is. It's not perfect behavior. It's reliable, consistent behavior done on weekdays, weekends, holidays, bad days, good days. Compliance is the bottleneck, not optimization. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is behavioral. It's not information. You likely already know what to do. You just need a system that actually works, one that bends around your actual life instead of pretending that you've got 90 minutes a day and 0 responsibilities. So stop optimizing for perfection and start optimizing for consistency. A small action done daily beats a larger one done occasionally, every single time. So, building your first micro wins. 3 rules. Rule 1, almost embarrassingly small. If you're not slightly laughing at the micro win that you picked, it's probably too big. Tell someone, I'm gonna do 1 pull-up a day. If they laugh at you, great, you've met rule 1, okay? Rule 2, be specific. I'm going to eat healthy is not the micro win, it's wishful thinking. I'm going to add 1 vegetable to dinner over tonight, or I'm going to have more protein on my plate tonight. That's a micro win. You know exactly whether you did it or not. It's tangent. Rule number 3, make it non-negotiable. The micro win is your floor, it's not your ceiling. You will always do at least this, no matter what. Even on the day your kids have been up all night, even on the day work tries to bury you, the floor holds. And being able to say, I still showed up, when everything else is on fire around you, is what builds the healthy identity, builds the man you're trying to become. So some examples, instead of I will drink 2 liters of water daily, say I'm going to drink 1 extra glass before breakfast. Instead of I will work out 5 times a week, I will say I will put my trainers on every single day. Your kids will start to see those trainers by the door and know that dad shows up. Instead of I will stop eating processed food, say I'm going to eat 1 more piece of whole fruit per day. Instead of I'll go to bed earlier, say I'm going to be in bed with my phone down by 10:30 3 nights a week, not 7. 3, you can do 3. So here's what the long game looks like. Month 1 and 2, the action feels a little bit trivial. Results are minimal, and you'll think, is this even doing anything? But your brain is quietly absorbing that repetition and building the neurological pathway for this to become a habit. Month 3 to 4, the actions start to feel normal. You notice you're doing more than the minimum without forcing it. And resistance gets lower, so the chain's getting longer. We're building that chain. Month 5 to 6, the actions feel like part of who you are. Skipping them feels strange. People around you start to notice. Your missus says something like, you're looking different. Even the kids notice. Dad, can I do a pull-up too? Can I join in? Can I do some push-ups? Year 1 and beyond, you are no longer trying to be healthy. You are healthy. The system's running on autopilot in the background. You don't think about it, you just do it. You're not the bloke with the boxes in the garage anymore, like Steve at the start of this video. You're the dad who trains, and your kids are watching. So here's your move. Tonight, before bed, write down 1 micro win for tomorrow. Make it small. So small that it's laughable, and that you literally can't fail. Make it possible to fail. Do it tomorrow, then the next day. Don't add anything, don't upgrade it, don't get ahead of yourself. Just repeat it every single day. And in 66 days, whenever your brain lands on that spectrum, you'll be doing it because this is just what you do. The identity shift will kick in. Not because you're motivated, not because you're grinding, because it's who you are now. The plan never failed you. The old plan was just too big. Make it smaller and watch what happens.